Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered what awaits us beyond the veil of this life? What lies beyond the final heartbeat, beyond the last tear, beyond the struggles we face every day? Today, I want to take you on a journey, not of fear, but of hope, not of death, but of life eternal. A journey into a heavenly testimony. Heaven is a promise, not a myth, because it represents the unshakable assurance of something far greater than human imagination can comprehend. It is not a story crafted to comfort fearful hearts or a fantasy invented by religion. It is the eternal truth spoken by the Creator himself. The human soul instinctively longs for something beyond this world, a place of peace, love, and endless light. And that longing is not accidental. It is a divine imprint placed within every heart to remind us that we were created for eternity, not for the temporary moments of this earthly life. The promise of heaven gives meaning to our suffering, direction to our faith, and hope to our struggles. It is the reason we rise after every fall and keep believing even when life feels unbearable. Heaven is not distant. It is the destination of every heart that chooses faith over fear and obedience over rebellion. Throughout history, people have questioned whether heaven is real, yet deep within every person, there exists an awareness that life cannot simply end in the grave. That whisper within the spirit is the voice of eternity calling us home. Heaven is not built upon human philosophy, but upon divine revelation. It was revealed through the words of God, experienced in visions by those who tasted the glory beyond, and promised to those who believe. The scriptures describe heaven as a place of perfect peace, where tears are wiped away, pain ceases, and joy is everlasting. These are not poetic symbols, but living realities of a realm untouched by decay or time. Just as the wind cannot be seen yet felt, heaven cannot be seen with physical eyes, but is deeply sensed through faith. To understand that heaven is a promise is to grasp that it depends not on human merit, but on divine grace. No one can earn it through wealth, fame, or good deeds alone. It is given to those who open their hearts to the Creator and choose to walk in truth and love. This promise is sealed through faith and confirmed by the inner peace that surpasses understanding. The same way a traveler trusts the light of dawn after a long night, the believer trusts the promise of heaven even when surrounded by darkness. Heaven reminds us that every trial we face is temporary, and that no pain is wasted when endured with purpose. Every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in tears, and every moment of faith builds our connection to that eternal home. Believing in heaven reshapes how we live on earth. It fills our days with hope, our actions with meaning, and our hearts with strength to forgive and love. When the heart understands that heaven awaits, fear loses its grip and death no longer intimidates. The promise of heaven empowers us to face life with courage, knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. It is the assurance that one day all sorrow will turn into song, and the faithful will stand in the radiant presence of eternal joy, where time and pain will cease forever. Life on earth is preparation for eternity, because every moment we live is shaping the destiny of our soul beyond this temporary existence. The time we spend here is not random or meaningless. It is a divine classroom where we learn faith, patience, humility, and love. Each trial, blessing, and choice serves as a test, forming our character and revealing what truly resides in our hearts. Earth is not the end of the journey, but the beginning of an eternal story. And how we live here determines what kind of eternity we will step into. The Creator, in his wisdom, allows joy and sorrow, success and failure, so that through it all, we may learn to trust him fully. Every heartbeat is a reminder that our earthly life is short, yet eternally significant. For what we plant in this life we will harvest in the life to come. When we understand that life is preparation for eternity, our perspective begins to shift. We no longer live only for possessions, fame, or fleeting pleasures, because these things fade like morning mist. Instead, we begin to value the unseen things, the purity of the heart, the strength of faith, and the depth of compassion. The way we treat others, the way we handle hardship, and the way we stay faithful in small things all contribute to the eternal foundation being built within us. The person who learns to love, forgive, and persevere in this life is preparing their soul for the perfection and holiness of heaven. Just as a seed must break before it grows into a flower, our struggles on earth are shaping us into what we are meant to be in eternity. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to grow spiritually. When pain visits, it refines our faith. When betrayal strikes, it teaches us mercy. When loss breaks our hearts, it opens our eyes to eternal hope. These moments are not punishments but processes. Divine methods of molding us into people who can stand in the presence of perfect love without shame or fear. The difficulties of life are polishing our spirits like rough stones being turned into precious gems. This world, with all its imperfections, is the place where we learn to choose between temporary satisfaction and eternal reward. Life on earth is also a sacred trust. Each day is a gift and a responsibility. We are given time, talents, and relationships not to waste them, but to use them for good, to reflect divine love, and to bring light into dark places. Our words, thoughts, and actions echo in eternity, shaping what awaits us beyond this life. The wise heart understands that earthly life is a preparation ground where faith is tested, love is proven, and eternity is being written moment by moment. What we do here echoes forever, and the soul that lives with eternity in mind walks with peace, purpose, and divine strength through every season of life. Heaven is entered through a surrendered heart, because only a heart that has laid down pride, control, and self can truly be filled with divine grace. The path to heaven is not paved with perfection, but with humility. It is not about how flawless a person's life appears, but about how willing they are to let go of their own ways and submit to the higher will of God. Surrender is the key that opens the gates of eternity. It is the act of saying, "Not my will, but yours be done," even when circumstances seem confusing or painful. A surrendered heart understands that real strength is not in fighting against divine purpose, but in trusting it. Such a heart does not seek to impress heaven with deeds, but desires to please heaven with sincerity. It is the posture of the soul that bows before the Creator, acknowledging that without Him, nothing has meaning. Many people spend their lives striving to be good enough, doing good works, or following traditions, hoping these will earn them a place in heaven. Yet the truth is that heaven cannot be earned. It is received through surrender. Surrender is the deepest form of faith. It is the moment when a person stops depending on their own strength and starts depending on divine mercy. It is when one recognizes that salvation is not a reward for effort, but a gift for those who trust. A surrendered heart doesn't rebel against correction or run from conviction. It welcomes them, knowing they are instruments of transformation. This heart doesn't seek to control life's outcomes, but believes that every step, even those that lead through valleys, are guided by divine wisdom. Surrender is not weakness, it is the highest expression of love and trust. It requires courage to let go of ego, resentment, and fear. A surrendered heart is not enslaved by the opinions of others or by the pursuit of worldly success. Instead, it finds freedom in obedience and peace in letting go. This kind of heart forgives easily because it knows how much it has been forgiven. It gives generously because it trusts that provision comes from above. It prays with sincerity, not to impress, but to connect with the one who gives life meaning. When a person truly surrenders, their desires begin to align with divine purpose, their ambitions turn into service, and their struggles transform into testimonies. The gates of heaven open, not for those who have lived perfectly, but for those who have learned to bow their hearts completely. Every act of surrender, every time we choose faith over fear, forgiveness over bitterness, and obedience over pride, brings the soul closer to eternity. Heaven recognizes the heart that has yielded in love, not the one that boasts in self-righteousness. To surrender is to live in harmony with heaven while still on earth, walking daily in humility, gratitude, and trust. When the heart is surrendered, it becomes a dwelling place of divine peace, ready to step into eternal glory when this life fades away. True wealth is peace with God, because no possession, achievement, or human recognition can ever satisfy the emptiness of the soul the way divine peace can. The world teaches that wealth is measured by how much you own, how much you earn, or how many people admire you. Yet countless hearts filled with riches still live in quiet despair. Peace with God is the kind of treasure that money cannot buy and power cannot secure. It is the calm that remains when everything else is shaken. The quiet assurance that even in the midst of storms, your soul is safe in the hands of the Creator. Real wealth is not the abundance of things, but the presence of inner rest, the certainty that your heart is right with God, and the awareness that you are loved unconditionally by Him. When a person lives without peace with God, life feels like an endless chase after shadows. They may gain the whole world, but still lie awake at night, haunted by anxiety, guilt, or loneliness. They may fill their days with activity and success, but still feel an aching void within. That void cannot be filled by wealth, relationships, or fame, because it is a spiritual emptiness that only divine peace can fill. Peace with God brings balance to the heart and direction to the soul. It quiets the restless mind and gives purpose to every breath. It removes the heavy weight of guilt and replaces it with forgiveness and freedom. It is the wealth that cannot be stolen, diminished, or lost, because it is anchored in eternity, not in circumstance. True wealth is not found in what we hold in our hands, but in what lives within our hearts. When a person finds peace with God, they begin to see life through different eyes. What once seemed important becomes small, and what once seemed impossible becomes possible. This peace changes how we think, how we speak, and how we treat others. It gives us the strength to forgive when wronged, the grace to give when it hurts, and the faith to stand when life feels unbearable. A peaceful heart does not depend on perfect conditions, it rests in perfect trust. Even in seasons of loss or uncertainty, peace with God remains steady because it is rooted in a relationship that never fails. The wealth of this world fades, but the peace that comes from God endures forever. The person who possesses this peace walks with quiet confidence, knowing that their worth is not measured by success, but by their connection with the divine. Such peace gives meaning to prosperity and dignity to poverty. It makes the soul rich even in simplicity and joyful even in trials. It teaches us that abundance is not about what we collect, but about what we carry within. True wealth is not stored in banks or displayed in status. It lives in the heart that has found reconciliation with its maker, where every fear dissolves and every wound finds healing in His perfect love. Live as if heaven is watching, because every moment of life carries eternal significance, and nothing we do is ever unseen by the eyes of the Creator. To live with this awareness is to walk in reverence, integrity, and purpose. It means understanding that our words, thoughts, and actions echo far beyond time, shaping both our character and our destiny. When a person lives as if heaven is watching, they no longer act merely for human approval, but for divine recognition. Their focus shifts from seeking applause to seeking alignment with truth. This perspective transforms ordinary days into sacred opportunities, where even the smallest act of kindness becomes a testimony of faith and love. It reminds us that life is not random but recorded, and every choice reflects the condition of the heart. Living as if heaven is watching brings a deep sense of accountability and humility. It causes one to pause before speaking, to reflect before acting, and to love even when it's not easy. It inspires honesty when no one else is looking, compassion when it's inconvenient, and faithfulness when it goes unnoticed. Such a way of living produces a purity of heart that pleases heaven more than outward success ever could. When we live this way, we begin to understand that heaven values sincerity more than show, obedience more than sacrifice, and faithfulness more than fame. It teaches us that the measure of a life is not in how many see our deeds, but in how we honor God when no one else does. When we live with heaven's gaze in mind, we learn to rise above the temptation to compare, complain, or compromise. The awareness that the divine eye watches over us gives strength to resist evil and courage to stand for truth. It reminds us that our trials are not wasted and our tears are not ignored. Every act of love, every hidden prayer, and every moment of endurance is seen and remembered. Living this way creates consistency between who we are in public and who we are in private. It cultivates integrity that cannot be shaken by circumstance or pressure. The heart that lives for heaven's approval finds peace, even when misunderstood, because it knows its purpose is higher than pleasing people. This mindset also brings joy, not fear, because heaven's watchful eye is not that of condemnation, but of love. It is the gaze of a father who delights in the obedience of his children and rejoices in their faith. When we live with this awareness, gratitude fills our days, and we begin to see every moment as an offering of worship. Whether we work, speak, serve, or rest, all becomes an act of devotion. Living as if heaven is watching gives us courage to live with honesty, compassion, and perseverance. It anchors the soul in truth and keeps the heart humble, knowing that while the world may forget our deeds, heaven records them all. And in the end, the divine reward will far outweigh every earthly trial. Your life is your testimony, because every decision, word, and action you take becomes a living message to the world about who you are and what you believe. Long before you ever speak, your life speaks for you. It tells a story, one of faith, struggle, perseverance, love, or fear. Each day, whether you realize it or not, you are writing a chapter of your spiritual journey. Your behavior in moments of joy, your attitude in times of pain, and your faith in the face of uncertainty all reveal the depth of your relationship with God. People may forget your words, but they will never forget the way you lived, the way you treated them, and the peace or strength they saw in you when life was difficult. A life lived with purpose becomes a silent sermon that can touch more hearts than any speech ever could. A person's true testimony is not built in comfort, but in testing. It is in seasons of loss, waiting, and disappointment that your faith becomes visible. When you choose to forgive instead of hate, when you remain kind under pressure, and when you continue to trust even when prayers seem unanswered, your life becomes a powerful witness. Every storm survived with grace becomes evidence of divine strength. Your life is the canvas upon which God paints his glory, and your testimony is the picture others see. What you overcome can inspire someone else to rise again. Your perseverance can restore someone's hope, and your faith can awaken belief in those who have stopped trusting. The light within you was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to guide others toward truth. Your life testifies not only to others, but also before heaven. The way you live reflects your gratitude for grace and your obedience to the calling placed within you. Every act of integrity, compassion, and humility becomes a declaration of faith. Your testimony is not about perfection. It's about transformation. It's the story of who you were and who you're becoming through the power of divine love. When you stumble but rise again, when you fall short but repent sincerely, your life tells a story of redemption that heaven celebrates. God does not require flawless lives. He desires surrendered hearts that allow his truth to shine through their imperfections. The beauty of your testimony lies in its authenticity. People are moved not by appearances, but by real lives that reflect hope, endurance, and faith. Every challenge you face is shaping that testimony, preparing you to impact lives in ways you may never see. Your smile in hardship, your faith in loss, your courage in fear, all of it speaks louder than words. You do not need a platform to preach. Your daily life is your pulpit. The way you love, forgive, serve, and endure is your message to the world. When your life aligns with truth, it becomes a living testament of grace, a reflection of heaven's light shining through an earthly vessel.